So we already got one person in the chat. Once we get in a few people, I'll get started here. Alright. Let's see. At least one person aside from the first one. Alright. I'm gonna get started. Hello everyone and welcome to, yes, and I'm calling it the pre-season special featuring my special guest, Tracy Yardley. Say hello. As always, as always, guys, leave your questions to the guest here, and let's get started. So, my biggest question is, what inspired you to start drawing Sonic and his friends?
Well, when I was about 11 years old or so, I was in the 6th grade. That was 1991. That's when the original Sega video games came out on the Genesis, and my brother got the first Sega Genesis with Sonic 1 for Christmas one year, and I basically just kind of commandeered it from him because I just fell in love with Sonic. So I just started drawing him ever since then, and when I should have been working in school, I was drawing Sonic the Hedgehog doodles and stuff, and I did pick up the original comics right at the same time. I saw that my local drugstore, they used to have, comics on the shelf there, so I was in there one time and saw one on the shelf. I was like, oh my god, I couldn't believe it. Sonic comic book. This is great. So I picked those up. They were the first, they were the couple of those, the mini-series that Scott Shaw had drawn.
Okay.
So I started right off at the very beginning there. I didn't really stick with it for very long, but every once in a while I'd see one on the shelf, pick it up and take a look. Yeah, this is neat. But there was always a Sonic comic there.
Alright. Ooh. If you have drawn those before, from Sunswift, they ask, what's your very first OC you ever created? What was their name, story, abilities, and when did you create them?
I don't really do a lot of OCs. I think it was just a few years ago I created one. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. I forget when. A while back I don't remember, I was on the internet somewhere and I saw a picture of this bird called a Tukey, I think it was.
A Tukey?
Yeah, some bird has a really large, rounded red crest on the top of his head that goes forward.
Okay.
So I made a OC. I think his name is Vaughn the Tukey.
Ooh, okay.
I think it was in South America somewhere, so I kind of gave his look a sort of vaguely based on conquistador type pantaloons and things like that. Just the shape of his legs and stuff. And, his whole deal, he was just kind of a smooth talker,
Yeah, honestly, when it came to designing mines, it was pretty difficult in regards to what exactly, aside from what species, in regards to the outfit itself. All of the outfits I've made for him were all drawn by me. I've been creative with them. Alright. Yeah, before we read off another question from Sunswift, out of all the drawings you've done, for Sonic, which one would you say was the hardest one to do, out of all of them?
The hardest drawing. Oh, that's tough to say. I would say one of the most challenging comic pages or series of comic pages was relatively recent. That was those issues with the initial series of comics for IDW where the floating island, Angel Island, had the big wings with all the
Oh, you're talking about the Metal Virus arc? No, not Metal Virus,
Metal
Neo Metal, the Neo Metal arc. Yeah.
Yeah. where yeah, the big wings are attached to the island, and they're have all those various
Yep.
fleet ships attached to them. That was
Yep,
pretty
that
hard
was
to
the very
draw,
first one.
and what really the only reason I was able to do it at all was because at that point I had finally started drawing digitally on an iPad, and so that allowed me to copy and paste the little ships, and I would still tweak them, resize them, and change the perspective and stuff a little bit here and there. But if I would have had drawn all of those by hand, without the copy and paste function, that would have been very difficult.
Yes, it would.
Quite a lot
Actually,
of time.
having to do a lot of those. There was a lot of egg fleets in that comic during that one issue. Woof. All right, let's see. From Sunswift, they ask, what's your least favorite type of OC? Yeah, OC design wise.
I don't know. Generally speaking, I think what I find, just from a drawing point of view, it's difficult because a lot of people's OCs have a huge amount of detail, lots and lots of little details and intricate designs and things. So that makes them pretty difficult to draw. And I know usually they're all very important details, so I feel bad if I don't draw them just right or forget anything. So that's generally when I design a character, which is not very often, like once in a great while, I'll get to design something for the comics. I just try to keep it relatively simple. Most of the Sonic characters are fairly simple, with a few exceptions, I guess. But yeah, their clothes and their look is not terrible. Usually, it's not full of lots of little designs.
Right.
Lots of little details.
Oh, I know how that feels. Alright, let's see. Alright, here's my next question. Let's see. Out of all the characters you've drawn, which one was your most favorite one to draw besides, Sonic himself?
Yeah, Sonic is usually fun because he's always doing something fun to draw. He's always moving and very kinetic, cool looking character. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, some of my other favorite characters are Tails and Blaze. Blaze kind of the same way. She's a neat design. She's cool. She's usually doing something cool with her fire powers or whatever. She's probably one of my other favorite ones to draw for sure.
I know when it comes to drawing for myself, I have been trying to go farther with drawing difficult characters like robots. I haven't tried to as of recent, though.
Yeah, it can be hard. I do actually, I really do enjoy drawing robots and machines and things like that. I like to draw the backgrounds and buildings and things. Sometimes, really, oftentimes more than I like to draw the characters.
People love seeing what you would normally see behind the characters. I guess even in an art style, you see a wonderful view. Alright, so from Sunswift, they asked if you were to design. That'd be pretty interesting. Like, if you were to design an axolotl character, how would you tackle it?
I don't know. It's tough to say without actually sitting down and doing it. Of course, if it was a Sonic-based axolotl character,
I think that's what they mean. Like, if it was like a movie unlike the others.
I would start with the same typical body shape, and I think a real challenge there might be what kind of clothes would it wear, what kind of shoes would it wear.
That is very true.
And then I would probably go look at maybe the clothing styles of the indigenous people of that area, wherever the axolotl's from, somewhere in Mexico or Central America, I think is where they're from.
Honestly, I never really found out where exactly the axolotls originate from, so it's hard to really know myself. Alright. Let's see, from Sega Sonic, they asked to Tracy, what's your favorite Sonic game?
Oh, that's a tough one. I've a few favorites. If you're talking about just nostalgia, Sonic 2 for the Genesis is really right up there. But although I know uh, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the better game, it's just a huge, fantastic game. Um, that Sonic Adventure 2 is another great one, which I haven't played it in 20 some years, so I'm not sure how well it holds up. But I had a great time when I did play it back then. And another one is Sonic Rush Adventure. Again, I like Blaze in that world and stuff, so I
Mm,
like pirates and the water and all. That was a really fun, cool concept. I enjoyed that one a lot.
I actually just recently started playing that game. Wanted to give it a try myself. Love it so far. Especially the gameplay style.
Mhm.
Ooh, from Sunswift, they asked, do you have any art advice?
Uh, yeah, generally speaking, I don't know. It depends on where one is coming from, how much um, experience they have. But regardless, if you're starting out, or even if you're not, I think an important thing to do is to keep active with your drawing, to sketch. I know when I went to school, one of the most useful things I did there was one of the early classes I took. Professor had us carry around a sketchbook everywhere we went, and every day we were supposed to fill in, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 pages of just sketches of basically everything that we saw. It could be cars or buildings, it could be animals or plants or whatever, silverware, the tables, forks and knives, and people, animals, clothing, whatever. Like literally everything you could think of, whatever's around you at the time. Sit down and do some drawings and sketch those things. Because with comics, you never know what's going to come up in a story, so it's good to have a wide range of things that you've practiced drawing. Of course, you're always going to need to look for reference for something specific. But if you've drawn 20 or 30 or 40 cars in your sketchbook, you're going to have a little bit of a, uh, you know, muscle memory and a little bit of practice drawing cars. So then, if you got to draw specifically a Volkswagen Beetle or something like that, you can go look up the picture to get the details and stuff. So, that and definitely life drawing. Um, Draw, people around you if they're willing to, be a model for you for a while. It doesn't have to be perfect. These are all sketches. This is all practice. Uh, but just work on the human anatomy. That's probably always been one of my weakest points. It's difficult. It takes a lot of time to memorize all that stuff.
The hands will always be a difficult one for me and for everyone else here.
Hands are very difficult. They look different from every different angle. So practice a lot of different hands. From every different angle you can look at it from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all that stuff, all the basics of art, get them down, because once you learn how to draw in general, then you can learn how to draw specific things, like Goku or Sonic or whatever. But if that's all you practice is drawing Sonic or Goku, that's all you'll be able to draw. So teaching yourself and building that skill of drawing in a lot of things and in different ways, that's going to help you to hone in on what you want to do specifically later.
Hmm. Okay. And we kind of answered this one, also. I don't know if you are comfortable with answering this one. What's your favorite ship and Sonic ship?
Um, I don't know. I don't really think too much about that. I
All
mean,
right.
Sonic and Sally was cool at the time when it was a thing.
All
Sonic and
right.
Amy is cute. I don't think they're. I guess canonically, I guess they're not really a couple or whatever. But
All right.
I'm fine. People can. They can imagine whatever they want to. It's a free country. If they want to have somebody together in their mind and their imagination, that I'm perfectly cool with that.
Right. Mm, Just go ask this one, even though I already asked you this before, but I guess she added to it. Yeah, but who's your favorite? What's your favorite Sonic character? But the most favorite one that you have, besides Tails and Blades and Sonic
Well,
himself.
aside from that, I don't know. Um, mm, well, you gotta have Dr. Eggman, I guess, because you gotta have your villain, Bill. Yeah, but Sonic, Tails, and Blaze is kind of my favorite of the heroes.
Hmm. All right. Before we answer this next question, who I would like? Okay, let me try to rethink of how I'm gonna word this. So my question is, who inspired you to actually draw like comics, not just like Sonic himself, but like in general?
Well, I've always enjoyed drawing since I was a little boy. When I was young, I used to have asthma. I suppose technically you still do. Like, it could always theoretically come back.
And true.
But I spent a lot of time indoors. I had four brothers, and I did go out and play a lot, but not as much as they did because I got sick a
Right.
lot. Oh, I stayed a lot inside a lot. So I used to watch a lot of cartoons on TV, and my older brother had an Atari 2600 when I was little. So I always enjoyed video games and cartoons and animation. I've not really so much comics specifically. I never really got into comics because there's usually every time I would try, it would be some complicated backstory that I didn't know. Like the X-Men or whatever. So like I was
Yeah.
just lost. But always enjoyed the newspaper strips like Garfield and things like that. Calvin and Hobbes, of course, later on. Um, it's just, yeah, I've always enjoyed drawing. Um, and comics is something that literally anybody can do. All it takes is paper and pencil, or or a pen or whatever. But you can draw. Anybody can draw comics. Maybe they're not professional grade or whatever, but that, of course, that takes time, like anything does. But
As long as you have fun with it, that's all that
the
matters.
magic of telling a story on with art, on paper, anyone can do that as long as you have a joke or a story or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It could be stick figures, but it's still, you're getting your point across. Comics is just, it's universal and it's fun. And I did always kind of, as a kid, I kind of intended to go into the newspaper type syndicated strips, but I just don't have the sense of humor for that to come up with a gag every day, let alone a good one. And it's also, at the time when I was younger, but before the internet really became what it is now, in newspaper syndication was the way to get your comics out there, and that was, there's only so many newspapers, and there's about 3 or 4 major syndication companies out there that would, send news strips to newspapers. And to get that, maybe they pick up 1 or 2 new strips a year out of thousands of submissions. Because you still got dinosaurs like Garfield and, Blondie and all this stuff that's been in the paper for 70, 80 years or whatever. They're never going to go away. So there's
Right.
limited amount of space for new comics. Getting a gig like that is, about as difficult as being a rock star and a movie star combined in terms of the odds. So I just kind of went with a more broad comics approach, comic books, and that's difficult in and of itself too.
Right.
I was just very fortunate to happen to like to draw Sonic, and that opportunity came along right at the right time. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed drawing, and I've never really wanted to do much of anything else. So I worked at it, all through school and different art classes and art school and stuff. I've been very, very, very fortunate that I've been able to make any kind of living at it at all. And I will say that, for anyone who might ask the question, you don't have to go to art school to do this. You don't need a degree to do comics. Nobody cares. It's not necessary in any way, shape, or form. But comics are, having that art school is a nice way to learn if you can afford to. Uh, you know, it's a nice way to learn in a focused environment with people from different places, and learning new ways of looking at the work that you're doing and new techniques and various things, just growing as a person. And you know, it's just like any school, you get out of it what you put into it. But if you're serious and you work hard, it's a nice thing to do, and you can network with other people who, you would hope and are serious about going into the business, so you can help each other find opportunities later on down the line, which is exactly how I gotten every gig that I've had because I knew somebody else who was, in the business. So.
Okay. Ooh. Zeta asks, what's your favorite Sonic zone?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Sonic Zone. Man, there's a lot of good ones. Like from the I don't know if I can narrow it down to one. From like Sonic 1, I think I like Starlight Zone. One of my favorites, honestly. Sonic 2. Well, I know it's cheesy, but yeah, it's the easy answer. But Chemical Plant, obviously, from Sonic 2. It's a great, fun zone.
Nothing wrong with that.
Boy, Sonic 3's got a lot of good ones.
Yep.
Angel Island Zone was pretty good because it was so different, like that new art style and all the little set pieces and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh yeah, all those Hydro City, which that's how I pronounce it. I like that zone a lot.
Sky Sanctuary was pretty good too.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'm trying to think of any others from Sonic and Knuckles. Lava Reef, that's a cool one. I love the music from that zone.
Carnival,
a lot of stuff going on in that one too.
Carnival Zone was pretty fun too.
It is. It's not one of my favorites, but it is cool. I like all the details and the look of it. I always used to find that one a bit annoying. Not because of the barrel thing. I don't think that ever gave me any trouble. I don't recall having any problem with that, figuring it out. I think I just accidentally figured it out right away. But those little underwater sections, though, I don't like those very much.
Yeah, always having to worry about finding the air bubble and whatnot to survive.
Getting knocked back by all those little bumpers and stuff.
Yeah, too.
Boy, I don't know. Yeah, as far as the other ones, it's hard to remember all of them at this point. I don't know. Yeah, but of course, all those old Genesis games I played 10,000 times each, so
right,
they're pretty ingrained in my mind.
Definitely can't beat the classics. All right. From Sunswift, they asked, what's the most satisfying villain defeat you ever drawn or looked at?
Villain defeat?
Yeah, like, you know how like Eggman gets defeated? Yeah, like, what was your favorite? Yeah, like, I guess how they would look like out there getting defeated by like Sonic or any villain in general. Like the pose they make and whatnot. Like, have you ever looked at, and what was your most satisfying one to look at or draw?
That's a tough question. I don't really know. I recall having a good time drawing issue 200 of Sonic. Where Sonic trashes that egg spider thing.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I had a lot of fun writing and drawing that the Babylon Rogues arc in Sonic Universe, because there was basically just a bunch of villains fighting each other. That was pretty good too. I enjoyed that a lot.
Something not directly pan away from the usual Sonic and adventures. Nice. We'll take in a few more questions and then we'll probably end it off there. All right, let's see. Let's see. Logan asks, "Are you excited for Christmas? You got anything planned for it?"
No, not really. I don't like Christmas because it's always difficult. Extra money you got to spend. A lot of
Oh yeah.
hassle. I don't, I'm not a big fan
Right.
of the secular part of Christmas that much.
Understandable. You gotta do all the decorating, get all the presents and whatnot. That got
Yeah,
way
but
too much
it's just a
money.
lot of money to spend, basically.
Mm-hmm. Alright. From Sunswift, they asked, did you ever have an edgy OC fade like those infamous OCs like Cold Steel the Hedgehog?
I'm sorry, what's that?
They asked, did you ever have an edgy OC phase like
Oh,
those infamous OCs like Cold Steel the Hedgehog?
no, no, no. Sorry, no. It took me a long time before I even heard about Cold Steel. Though that stuff is fun, though. I like to see that kind of the fun, ridiculous side of Sonic and OCs and things like that.
Alright. Alright. I would say this one will be the final one. From Sega Sonic, they asked Tracy, what's your favorite Sonic show and Fresh 40 music?
Ooh, good Sonic show. Well, of the ones that I've seen, I'm gonna have to go with Saturday Morning Sonic from the ABC show.
The old classic
I don't know
Sonic
how
at
well.
AM.
Yeah, I don't know how well it holds up. I haven't seen it in quite a long time, but as a kid, I love that. When I was a kid, I used to watch the Adventures of show before school every morning, and I don't know, it really wasn't my cup of tea because it was a little too goofy for Sonic, I thought,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still Sonic, so I watched it anyway. And yeah, the Saturday morning show, while yes, it was dark and gritty or whatever, if comparatively speaking, it definitely was. It was. It
Oh
was
yeah.
also very, very strange. I was, I'm usually,
Strange, isn't it?
yeah, I'm usually like one of those kind of people. I like, maybe it's not, maybe it's boring or whatever. I like kind of a particular story to kind of have the same elements across different versions. So it's fine. It's definitely fine to have new. I like Sonic Boom. I like the idea that there could be other versions of a character or a story. There's also like Ninja Turtles. There's tons of iterations of that now, and they're always a bit different, and that's fine. But yeah, back then as a kid, I was like, who are all these weird characters and stuff? And
Right.
I still liked it anyway. And of course, they moved over to the comics, so eventually they just became, you know,
Well, we know now.
yeah, yeah. They were. I expected them. I grew to know them. Grew to know them. So, but yeah, I enjoyed that show. It was a nice treat to have it be a Saturday morning cartoon just once a week. It was an event when you're a kid to
Mm-hmm.
to see something on TV like that just once a week. It's a special event. Yeah. Other than that, I do like Sonic Boom a lot. I thought that was a fun show. I
Sucks that we'll never get a third season.
Yeah, I watched. I still haven't seen all of them, all episodes of Sonic Boom. I definitely did not finish all of Sonic Prime. Maybe it gets better. I didn't particularly like it that much.
I won't say anything that'll be important spoiled territory, so I'll let you see that on your own to have your opinion on that one.
Yeah, I'll get around to finishing it eventually, but it didn't strike me as, you got a multiverse story, and they didn't really do much with it, and I didn't like, you know, I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
could have had more to it, like having like a different universe Sonic in that universe.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to give it another go and see how I like it.
Right. But anyways, guys, I hope that answered your questions. And thank you, Tracy, for joining me. You guys can check out his stuff on his social media as well as his shop, which is in the description itself. Make sure you guys check it out. Also, make sure
Thank
to
you.
subscribe to his channel. That's also linked in the description as well.
Yeah, I don't update things a lot, but if you subscribe, you'll be ready to see them when they do.
Mm-hmm. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Season 4 will be coming soon. Making plans with the previous guests and still planning out stuff with the future newer ones. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.